Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel, and if you're new around here, I upload the best tools, tech and tactic videos that I use for improving my online content, and I share what I know with you guys. So this is actually the first video in a 3-part series that I'm doing on this channel, all about Instagram stories, and specifically the highlight section of Instagram. I'm going to be showing you how to create effective and interesting editing techniques for both photo and video to make these really stand out on your profile. So what are we looking at in today's video? Well, I'm going to be showing you how to create one of these highlight icons. A lot of Instagrammers use these in very different, interesting ways that are now actually becoming their own form of content on Instagram, as opposed to just having stories or the actual feed. So let me break down some of these for you. A lot of Instagrammers use these in really different ways to show different parts of their life or their business. So for example, some of them have fitness, motivation, food and behind the scenes, whilst others will use it to show different types of clothing they wear, like denim, dresses, shoes, accessories. You can use these in many different ways to introduce members of your team. It could be also to break down all of the individual cities that you travel to if you're a travel photographer. So let me just break this down and get straight into the tutorial, as that's what this video is about. So today I'm going to be creating a highlight story icon for my London photography, and this is going to be one chapter of the whole highlight reel, which is going to be on travel. So without further ado, let's just jump into this real quick.
So the first thing that you're going to want to do is open up Photoshop, click new. So come over to the dimensions, and you're going to want to make sure that it is 1080 height by 1920 width, which is going to give you the Instagram stories dimension on the iPhone. Once this is done, you can then go ahead and pick a color for your highlight. I'm going to be using this red right here, and you can just use the paint bucket tool to select the entire layer. So the next thing that you're going to need is an icon. I'm going to be using flat icon for this tutorial to show you. You can type in anything practically, and they seem to have incredible icons. So if I type in nature, you can see that we get all of these different icons here, both color and black and white. If you come up to the top here, you can actually switch it to be just black and white, which is what I recommend. And what you can actually do is you can go ahead, click one. I'm going to hit PNG, which is going to allow the layer to be transparent on a red background. And I'm going to make sure that it's white, as that's the color that I want it to be. And then I can click 512, which is the largest size that we can get this icon, and it will instantly download, and we can bring that into our Photoshop file. Once here, you can actually go ahead and scale up the image to this size. Now this size is actually quite different depending on how large or small you want the icon to be on your Instagram stories. I have this one linked down below if you want to get these measurements with these rulers here. This is quite a nice large size that I'm going to be using for this tutorial, but you simply can just drag it out at any size that you want and test it out and see if you like it that way. So to center this, you're going to want to hold Control and A, or Command and A if you're on a Mac. And then you're going to want to head up to these two icons and click the middle ones, which is going to center our icon. Now I must point out before we go any further that if you are using an icon from flaticon.com, you will need to credit the designer in your Instagram story. But if you do not want to do that, as you want to keep the highlight looking very clean and sleek without any other text, you can use some of the shapes that are actually in Photoshop by default, like this one here, which is of a note. Or alternatively, you can create your very own icon with the pen tool and the shapes tool. That's just another way of being able to get around having to credit anyone. Once you're happy with your icon, you can go ahead and click File, Save As, then either a JPEG or a PNG. Over onto the iPhone now, and you can slide left and select your image, click Save to Stories, and then you can also go ahead and pick all of the other things that you want to have. So this is the second part of the Instagram highlight that I would like to have. And then you can go ahead and click all of the things. So for me, it will be London. So I'm just going to click this photo right here. And then if I head then over to my Instagram highlight, you'll be able to see that I can create a new one here, which I'm going to call Travel. Once I've saved this, you can see it instantly gets placed into there, and there we go. That's how I create Instagram stories. But as you can see, it takes a very long time to get through these beginning ones, which is not something that I kind of like. So I'm going to be showing you an alternative version, which I think looks so much more nicer in video form. So this is what we're going to be creating now in Premiere Pro. I think that when you click on the icon and it opens up and then the plane disappears, showing London very, very quickly before they're moving on to the actual photographs, I think is a lot more quicker than having to wait 10 seconds for that initial icon highlight to actually disappear. Up next, you can use Adobe Premiere Pro, Final Cut, any other editing software, it really doesn't matter. I'm going to call this Instagram highlight, and I'm going to create a new sequence, which is also going to be 1080 by 1920. The next thing that you're going to want to do is drag in your Instagram icon highlight, as well as the photo or the video that you want to follow it. I'm going to make my icon about half a second long, that's as long as I want it to be up on the screen. And then after that, I'm going to then drag in one of these two. I'm not sure which one I'm going to go for. I think I'm going to go with this one. I think it represents London a little bit more clearly than just St. Paul's. And then once you're happy with that, you can go ahead and join them together, and you're going to want to move your first icon up to the above layer. This is because we're going to then use this as a fade. So if we click onto our icon again and move up to effect controls, we can move along. I'm going to go around to roughly the start of the St. Paul shot, and I'm then going to go ahead and click this, which is going to create a keyframe. If I drag this along to the end of that clip, I'm then going to drag this down to 0, so it's going to fade. If I highlight both of these two here, and then I click ease in, this is going to create a very nice smooth transition that's going to look very, very clean and nice. It's going to look quite professional. And so when this plays through completely, you can see that we get this really, really quick shot of the actual icon before then fading off into this. And I'm actually going to cut this a little bit shorter here, so that we get to move on to the actual photos very, very quickly when we're on Instagram. Now that you have completed this step, you're going to want to go to File, Export, and then Media. I'm going to make sure that I have a VBR pass of 2, which is going to increase the quality very, very slightly. So back on Instagram stories, we're basically going to do the exact same thing. We're going to slide to the left, go ahead and click the video, which as you can see looks very, very high quality. It really stands out. And then you can go ahead and click any of the other videos and photos that you do want to put into your specific highlight, just like before. Once again, we're going to click add a new highlight. I'm going to call this travel, and it's going to go straight in. And as you can see, we have this nice icon that when clicked appears for the first second or two and then fades away onto the first story. I think that this looks so much better than the previous way, which would take up like 30 seconds to get through just 3 images, whereas now we've managed to get through 2 in under 10 seconds. So I personally think that this makes my profile stand out compared to everyone else's, which just tend to be the very raw video and photos that they've snapped on their iPhone. I think that this allows my Instagram story to pop. It stands out when you come onto my profile. And so if you want to find out how I made this right here of London, this is a very, very nice way of being able to show that you have a high quality Instagram highlight reel. That's actually the second part of this Instagram stories. So if you want to see that, you can click the link in the description, the comments, the end screen, or the information card on the video. So there's a bunch of different ways for you to be able to see this next video, and that's going to be coming out right away the next day after this video is uploaded, so be sure to check that out after this video.
Now obviously this is one way of being able to create a highlight reel. You could just use a photo or you could use some text. I personally would tell you to avoid doing that, simply because if you're going to be using text, there's pretty much no need, because there's already text below the actual highlight icon that can tell your sort of viewer what it is that you've got inside of that highlight reel. And actually it's actually quite small, the text, because it is a very, very small bubble, as it were, this little button. And so I always recommend that you should use very big font if you absolutely have to use text. If not, I 100% recommend using an icon, because I think it's just something that's understood in every single country in the world. There is no sort of language barrier there, because Instagram, obviously, if a photo looks good, you're going to follow that person whether they're from a different country that don't speak your language, and so having an icon that's obviously everyone understands what an aeroplane icon is, everyone sort of knows that's about traveling. So that is what I would say to you if you're going to be creating these kind of highlight icons, is to make sure that they are actually icons and not text. I would also recommend that you kind of keep all of these icons consistent. I would say that for me, I made sure that I used an all red background with white icons. I think if they were different colors or weren't all the same size, it would look kind of messy. I kind of like to have them all look very, very similar, all the same, and I think it just helps when you come to my Instagram page. You can kind of, it catches your eye, and if you like the first one, you may then be interested to go into the next, because you may think that they're part of a sequence. So yeah, try and keep them consistent in their style. As I mentioned at the end of that tutorial, if you do want to go ahead and see the next part in this video series or on the Instagram highlights, you can click the link in the description, the pinned comment, or you can also click the icon, which I think is there, maybe there, and also the end screen if you want to check that out. Question of the day: what highlight are you actually creating today as you watch this video? Be sure to leave a comment down below, and if you're struggling with actually finding an icon, also let us know and I'll jump in, and maybe a few other people will, and we'll try and help you out. So thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, as it really does help me and this channel out. And if you want to see more videos just like this on the best tools, tech and tactic videos that I use for improving my social media content, be sure to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell, and I will see you all in the next one.